Hello, welcome back to the Calyx Services channel. I'm Thelma. These crotons, they're lovely, aren't they? And what's even better, they're growing in pots. But most of our crotons here in the garden are outdoors in full sunlight where they can express all the range of beautiful colors that crotons are known for. And I'm sure a lot of you also love crotons. So in this video, we're going to show you how you can propagate them from air layering and stem cuttings placed in soil and in water. So please keep watching. So since these are in front of me, I'm going to start with the cuttings that have been removed from the mother plant first. The tools that we're going to be using, simple tools, essentially really just a sharp cutting tool. And I have two types, scissor type and a secateur. The secateur will be for the harder stem segments. Ooh, even this one is giving me a hard time to cut. And the scissor type, you'll go much faster. I mean, the secateur can be used for the leaf also, but you tend to go much faster in removing the leaves when you use the scissors. The preparation for the stem cuttings are going to be the same, whether I'm going to put them in water or in the potted media. And what we're looking at here is a cutting. Given the size and the weight of the croton, we're looking for about an 8-inch length cutting. So I'm going to remove the excess length. This is about a 12-inch cutting. I'm going to remove the extra from the base and proceed to prune the leaves. Once you remove the cutting, the leaves will continue to transpire, that is lose water, and you really don't want that during the rooting process. And here I'm also removing any inflorescence because they're just going to be removing energy from the plant, from the cutting, and we want all of the energy to be concentrated on rooting. So I've reduced the amount of leaves through which the stem will lose water, and this cutting I think fits the bill. So I'm just going to do the balance off camera. And when they're done, I'll come back to set them in the position in which we expect them to root. Now that the cuttings are prepared and hydrated, I'm going to stick them into the respective rooting medium. First in the pot that has 2 parts of sterile commercial rooting medium and 1 part sand. And I'm using a cinnamon powder as the rooting hormone. I'm skipping the cinnamon for those cuttings in water. And I'm putting them in a clear bottle so that we can see the rooting, we can follow the rooting process. Now these, because the water is not so readily available for the cuttings to take up, I'm going to put a little homemade humid tent. You need some support poles and a plastic bag that is sufficiently large or long to cover the cuttings. And you want a little airspace above the cutting. You don't want the plastic to be sitting on top of the leaves. So I have here plastic bags, no holes in the bags. That's the whole purpose. You want to keep it airtight. There is enough moisture in the mix to keep it humid throughout and I'm going to seal the bottom. I'm just covering all 3. Before I proceed to seal. Alright, so we've finished the preparation and setting of the croton cuttings in water and in the sterile potting mix. So let's move on to air layering. So I've selected this lovely croton for the air layering because yes, it's the only one we have in pots, and I wouldn't mind having 2 more. Plus, it's gotten a little bit lopsided. It's tall, it's lanky, and I want to bring it down to size at a point where it will be the new growth coming out will give a more bushy appearance. Now, and that's what you do when you are either pruning or taking cuttings from a stock plant. You don't just come and take the best cutting that you want. You look also to see if you can have the advantage of a pruned plant that will resume growth and improve its appearance. Now, the tools that we need, the materials and tools for air layering. The materials that I use to make the pouch are strips of aluminum foil. And I put a small handful of dampened coconut coir, also called cocoa peat, on each aluminum segment. Not too much, as the pouch may be too heavy for the stem. In terms of tools, all I need are these two items, a sharp knife and a secateur or roll cut. Always sanitize your tools before use. I usually use a mixture of equal parts of 3% hydrogen peroxide and water. Let me show you how to set two air layer pouches. These two branches are within easy reach and are of the right size. So I'll position the air layer right about here. And when you are working on a plant, there are times when you have to clear your way to the area that you're going to work in, and you may have to remove a few leaves or even sometimes branches. Air layering requires you to interrupt the flow of sap from the leaves to the roots. And the way we do that is to cut the bark, remove a thin strip of the bark, about an inch, inch and a half long, and make sure all of the bark. This, see how easily it comes off? It doesn't always come off this easily. This would indicate that the plant is actively growing. There's a lot of sap flowing. If your plant is water stressed, it is not a good time to do any kind of propagation. So make sure that it has been well watered a few days before you attempt to remove the bark. So this one came out very nice, very cleanly. Let me do the other one. Again, selecting the location about here, giving me a 18-inch long stem, and just removing any obstructions. Make a circle, two circles, one at the top, one at the bottom, about an inch, inch and a half. In other words, it's called ringing the back. You make a ring around the back, about an inch and a half segment, slice it and remove it. It's lovely when it comes off easily. Good, so we've cleaned both backs. No need to scrape because there is no remnant of the back there. So the coir, the material is sufficiently damp. You want to make sure that it circles the entire cut area, and once you ensure that, then you just close the pouch. Squeeze the top, bottom, making sure that it is airtight and the moisture in the cocoa peat or the coir will keep this cutting, the stem segment supplied with sufficient moisture. Plus the roots in taking up moisture would also keep the stem sufficiently moist. So, two air layered segments on this plant. And we turn this plant to its location. And that's the advantage of air layering on a plant that is growing, in that you really just leave the plant where it is. You don't have to take it in a protected area. It will continue growing, supplying the cutting with the nutrients that it needs. We'll take a look at it and bring you the results as soon as we have them. 19 days after the stem cuttings were set to root, all three cuttings that were placed in water retained their leaves and, even better, showed signs of early root formation. Of the 3 cuttings that were placed in the potting mix and covered by the humid chamber, only 1 retained its leaves, but we're hopeful as the buds have started to grow, which is a sure sign that the stems are still alive. The soil is still very moist, so we're not going to be replacing the plastic bag. Instead, we're going to put both these stem cuttings and those in water back in the protected location and examine them in about another 3 weeks or so. It's now 8 weeks since we set up these cuttings, and I'm going to show you the rooting from those that was in the water, and you see quite extensive rooting. This one is turning a bit green. The roots are showing signs of producing chlorophyll, and that also is because of the light coming through the water. But this is excellent, healthy growth after 8 weeks. And this second set that was stuck in the potting mix, 2 of them had lost their leaves, and these are the 2 that had lost leaves. This one has not. The bud is still alive, but at this rate, 8 weeks after, I don't think we'll wait on it to start producing leaves. But this one is quite healthy, quite nice, as well as this one. Now what we're going to do to have a real good comparison is to examine the roots, and to do that, I will upturn them, starting with this one that I have just written off. Let's see if there are any roots in it. Oh yeah, see, never say never. The roots are there. Not bad. Whoops. Of course, it doesn't help if I kill it. So, just putting it in some water. All right, good. I'm going to... Okay, this is the second one that I'm doing, did not lose its leaves, so let's see what the roots look like very carefully. Dunking in water. Oh, no surprise, a lot of root mass compared to the first one. And this one that lost its leaves but sent out nice young, actually it's more than leaves, they're sending out 2 branches, so it's branching low, excellent. All right, so if I place them in order of the amount of roots, the one that did not lose its leaves has a bigger root mass. This middle one has a very substantial amount of roots growing, and I guess we just have to be patient with this one. The buds are still green, stem is green, so it has every chance of producing a young plant, but at a slower rate than the others. Now on to the third method, air layering, and as I say, it's 8 weeks since we set them, and this is excellent rooting structure. And oh, this one is a little drier than that one, but still. And you see the rooting in various stages. It hadn't gotten root bound. They're all nice and healthy. This is 8 weeks, and normally I don't keep crotons that long when I'm air layering because they do root faster than that. And I'd gone in and done another 2 pouches on the same plant, and I'm just going to examine the rooting on those 2. Okay, I may be sacrificing these, but at 4 weeks these pouches have a fair amount of roots, and I would say that we would be able to pot them with very little shock to the plant. So just by comparison, this is 4 weeks after we set the air layering, and this is 8 weeks after. So my usual practice here is about 6 weeks, but just to give you an idea that they both have rooted. It's likely that the 8 weeks one will have less shock when I transplant. So this is the grand reveal. Now they're all rooted. In terms of which rooted best, really the crux of the matter is which one transplants with minimal shock, giving you the kind of plant you want in a limited period of time. and that would be part 2 of the video. But as you see, you have options of water, air layering, and setting it in a potting mix in a small pot. Now, looking at the results of these 3 methods outlined here, it's no surprise that here in the calyx garden, we prefer to air layer or croton because it gives you a much larger plant in a shorter period of time. But if you have limited space and you don't have a plant of your own from which to air layer, then obviously you have options for taking a cutting and putting it in water or rooting media in a pot. We've come to the end of this demonstration on 3 methods of propagating crotons. We hope you liked it. I certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. And if you liked it, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And for more information on propagating a wide range of plants, please check out our book, Plant Propagation, which is available on Amazon Kindle as well as bookfusion.com. And until the next video at the end of next week, I am Thelma in the Calyx Services Garden saying bye-bye.